So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I know it may seem like Christmas is already far gone and long in the past, but we're still in the Christmas season, that we're still unfolding and unpacking this mystery of Christ's incarnation, of Christ being born into the world and everything that means and the implications. Today we celebrate the feast of the Epiphany, of the Magi arriving, of Christ being revealed to the nations, not just to a small group of people, but even foreign nations, that the message of the Messiah is becoming known. But when I was reflecting on this mystery of Epiphany that we celebrate today, something that struck me was how incredibly inconvenient Christ was, the Christ child in the star was, to the Magi. And it was not a convenient thing for the Magi to go and see the Christ child. It wasn't just like they were on vacation and on their way, and they're like, on our way, let's swing by and drop off a few gifts. They went out of their way to do this great journey and to travel a long ways. And I think sometimes with our modern conveniences of travel we have today, we sometimes forget how arduous that would be. Nowadays we have our cars with air conditioning and heaters and radios and even GPS. Poor Magi just had to follow some pinprick of light off in the distance, start walking towards it and hope they end up wherever they're supposed to end up. And keep following it until who knows when. And, by the way, I don't know if you've traveled lately by camel anywhere, but they don't come with air conditioning, especially through a hot desert. And if you ride them for a while, they start to get pretty smelly pretty quick. So not the most convenient way to travel. And who knows, we don't know the story, but who knows what things in their life they would have put on hold in order to go on this journey. The businesses, the things, the unfolding of their daily life that they had to set on pause so they could go on this great journey across the desert. How incredibly inconvenient it was for these Magi to go on this journey. So the question I think that it arises that I want to pose to us today is, do we allow Christ to inconvenience our lives? Do we allow Christ to inconvenience our lives? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but God himself is very rarely convenient. If you go all throughout the scriptures, through the Bible, and even the lives of the saints, and you look at all the moments when God revealed himself to someone or spoke to someone, whether himself appearing or through an angel, never once in all the Bible or scriptures or any of the saints, when he appeared, did he say, "Hey, is now a good time? Should I come back later?" No, he would just bust in and say what he needed to say. He didn't ask if this was convenient or not. In fact, sometimes I think God delights a little bit in inconveniencing us. All throughout the gospel with Christ, look at him calling the apostles. Peter's out fishing on a boat, and he didn't say, "Hey, when you get done, when you finish fishing, come to shore, and then we'll chat about maybe coming to follow me at a date that works best for your calendar." No. He said, "Come and follow me." And immediately they left everything to follow him. And there is a moment in the gospel when he calls some other people. He says, "Come follow me." And they go, now's not a good time. It's not convenient for me. I got to go do this, that, or the other thing. But Jesus doesn't wait around for them. He keeps on moving. And Christ can be inconvenient. Because I tell you, in my own life, Jesus Christ has been incredibly inconvenient. You see, I didn't plan on, when I was a kid, I did not plan on becoming a priest. I had some friends in seminary who they knew since they were like 4 years old that they wanted to be a priest. And they even would go home and they'd play mass at home. When I was a kid, I thought Mass was boring. So the last thing I wanted to do was go home and then play more boring Mass, you know. My plan when I grew up is I was going to be Spider-Man. I've yet to find a radioactive spider. So that kind of threw off the plans of my life. And then I get to college, and then there's this beautiful girl that I was planning on marrying, even though we hadn't started dating yet. But and I hadn't started talking to her yet. But then I started talking to her, so it was a little less creepy. But I had this plan that I was going to go date her and get married and live happily ever after. And then in prayer, there's this nagging idea, maybe you should go try out seminary. Lord, that's inconvenient. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe I can make this work. I'll go do my time. I'll do a year. They'll kick me out. I'll go get married and live happily ever after. Well, you can see how that worked out for me. And even sometimes in priestly ministry, there's moments that seem inconvenient. It's inconvenient to make time in my day for prayer. Sometimes there's ministerial things that come up, needs that come up, or a phone call that I'm in the middle of something and I get this inconvenient call. But when we allow Christ to inconvenience our life, that's when beautiful things can happen. There was one day that I was going all day and was going from this, that, to the other thing. And then I got a call that someone at the hospital needed to be anointed at some point that day. I'm like, okay, well, when I finally get a break here in the day, I'll go do that. Well, I went, and it was this thing after the other thing, and finally it was late evening. I got back to my house, put on my PJs, sat in my recliner, all comfy in my bunny slippers. And then I remembered, oh darn it, I have to go to the hospital and anoint someone. How inconvenient. So I had to get back on my priest garb and drove out to the hospital, ventured back out into the dark and the cold. But of course, and sitting with that person in the hospital room, having confession with them and just talking with them about their life, as they knew that their end was near, and reflecting on them of all the incredible blessings of their life. It was one of the most beautiful moments I'd ever experienced. And it was one of those moments that affirmed me in why I do what I do. Oh yes, this is why I'm a priest. But had I been more attached to my own convenience, that probably never would have happened. So do we allow Christ to inconvenience our lives? Because he will inconvenience us in many ways, whether through people or whether through what he calls us to. So if we allow our lives to be inconvenienced, to be disrupted by prayer, Christ will come and inconvenience your life all the more. But when we allow Christ to inconvenience our life, that's when we discover and experience, and he brings us to something more incredible and beautiful than we would have imagined. That what he wants to reveal to us is more profound and amazing than what we may have chosen for ourselves, than what we will choose for ourselves. So if we allow Christ to inconvenience our life, that's when a beautiful epiphany is revealed to us. The beautiful and profound thing and mystery that God wants to unfold in each and every one of our lives.